Hello, good evening and welcome. This is Nuruddin Omoto Show at your service. Whew. I honestly would have loved to come live today on Facebook, but unfortunately, as you can see, I'm still having these logistic problems, but I hope very soon, I'll be able to sort them out. The last time out, I told us a story about a colleague of mine and how he was able to close a transaction successfully by avoiding the several loopholes people fall into in their real estate ventures. Okay, I also promised that I was going to try to analyze this story. Okay, please, in case you missed the story, you can always go back to my previous video where I told the story. Okay, now we're going to do this analysis in bits. Okay, and we'll start with the first things first. Remember, when the client was going to buy a property, he sorted the services of my colleague, okay, my friend. He sorted his services to get what he wanted. Okay, so you may need someone to work with, somebody to help you look for what you want. But the number one lesson is, please always be at alert. You should be your number one agent. Okay, regardless of you looking for getting several people to look for what you want, you should be your number one agent. Always remember, number one is you own your fund. So if you lose it, you lose it all, and if you gain it all. Okay, so you should be careful. Again, is that you have the clearest idea of what you want. Any other person looking for something for you, looking for a property for you, only has an idea of he has only an explanation of what you want, but you have the clearest idea of what you want. Okay, so you are in the best position to look for it by yourself. Okay, now when looking for it, it's very easy. You may have it, how am I going to get something? How am I going to be able to search for a property? It's very easy. Okay, there are several platforms, real estate platforms, where properties are being marketed online. Okay, all you need to do is visit Mr. Google. Okay, visit Mr. Google, type in what you want, and I'm sure Mr. Google will be most willing to look for your answers, the best answers for you. But again, the agent or the property agent is in a better position to look for something, because don't forget, he does it for a living. So he may have a first-hand information for you. Yes, if there is need to employ an agent, try as much as you can to work with somebody you can trust. Okay, work with someone you can trust. Don't just work with anybody, and I'll give you the reasons. Most agents, I say most, 8 out of 10 are not to be trusted. Believe me, I also work as an agent. Okay, so I know what I'm saying. 8 out of 10 are not to be trusted. Believe me. Okay, and I'm going to share some of the reasons why you may not be able to trust most of these agents. Okay, now remember, the work of an agent is a networking job. What I mean by a networking job is he has to connect with other agents. An agent has to connect with other agents to get certain things when the request comes. Okay, so you now come up with a particular request of a description, a property description, and then the agent goes to work. What he first does is try to see what he has. If he doesn't have it, then he connects with his colleagues and ask, okay, who has this, okay, and then somebody comes up. Now it's networked. Okay, but do you know that at times there are about 5 to 6 agents, okay, between your agent that you have employed and the actual owner of the property he had found for you? So the agent and the person who introduced him and the person who introduced that person may not even know the owner of the property. Okay, and what they will do is, when the transaction has been closed and the fees have been paid unknown to you, or probably okay, all these people in the chain are to share maybe the 5% that you had paid. Okay, now look at a scenario where You even negotiate further that you're going to pay 2.5% or 2% of the sum you have paid for the property. Okay, so 5 to 6 people are sharing 2%. Look at it. You know what the agent does? Okay, they agree amongst themselves that let's load it. What does it mean by let's load it? Okay, they will agree amongst themselves that they're going to load it. What they are going to do is, if the property is, say, 3 million, okay, they will insist that it is 3.5 million. Of course, they are not going to, you don't know the owner, you have not connected with the owner, and at times they may even connive with the owner that the property should be sold for 3.5 because you are not going to pay them. Okay, so the owner will agree that okay, okay, and so they insist on you buying the property for 3.5 million. Now look at this. You're supposed to pay 5% of 3 million, and 5% of 3 million should be 150,000, but here you are paying 500,000 naira. Okay, you're paying 500,000 naira to be shared by 4 or 5 people. Okay, instead of 150,000 naira to be shared by the same people, all because you had negotiated further down. Okay, and well, blame them or don't blame them, they make their money and they move on. Okay, another thing is, most people out there are so desperate. I mean, the situation of the country is not friendly. Okay, an agent may have been working on several transactions and he has not been able to close any, and you are here, you are very anxious to get the property, so you will be desperate to make all the money he had lost in all the transactions he has been trying to close. So most people don't really care. All they're after is, let me make the money. Remember the saying, the end justifies the means. Okay, the end justifies the means. So if he makes his money, then whatever means he had taken to get the money is okay. Okay, so it takes a lot of discipline and God fearing for somebody to be truthful, for an agent to be truthful. That's why I said you may not be able to trust every agent. And sincerely, okay, just some weeks, within a week, it was last week, okay, I was sitting with a friend and we were chatting, and the call came in, okay, a colleague of mine. So the call came in and he picked the call, and afterwards, all I heard him say was, no, sorry, we don't do that. Thank you. And he dropped the phone. And he smiled, and I said, what was that? He told me, he said, can you imagine? The guy somebody had actually called him, okay, to make inquiry of a property he had placed online, okay, a property to let, for that matter, online, okay. So this person was actually an agent too. So he called my colleague to tell him that he has a client for it, and he has convinced the client that the client was going to pay, okay, 800 rent, but 2 years agency fee, which is 80, that is 160,000 naira to 800,000 naira. And my friend was baffled. I said, but you can see clearly that I wrote on my advert that the rent is 800,000, agency is 10%, which is 80,000 naira. But the guy was like, if we are to share 80,000 naira, that would be 40-40. But if I'm able to bring it up and the guy pays 160,000 naira, you have 80, I have 80. Really, my friend would have made 80,000 naira clear. But the truth is, this is exploitation, and it's very rare. You will hardly get an agent that will willingly say, okay, let's take the 10%. Okay, this is what people do. So I guess I'm running out of time, but as I said, we are going to do it in bits. Okay, so the point is, you need to be very careful. Be your number one agent, and if you need to employ an agent, then you should try as much as you can to work with somebody you know. It could be through someone you had known for a while, or through referrals. Thank you, and see you next week.